got to where I am. Because some of them really were by chance, and some of them were because of perseverance. But thinking about what it was like for me when I was in your position, sitting there watching somebody talk, and I was graduating many moons ago, I was a kind of student that really did not have much motivation when I was young. I just wanted to blend in. I was kind of the student that sits, that middle area where the teachers always look at the back, always look at the front, but the middle area is the zone where you disappear. I sit there. I don't like calling attention to myself, and I thought, okay, after many years of school, I was getting by. And then I had to decide, what entrance tests, what college to apply to, and I really had no idea what I wanted to do. So, disclaimer, I know that some of you have clear plans, but maybe there are a few of you who have no idea what you want to do, and this is what happened to me. So, I thought, okay, I'm just going to be an architect, because I come from a family of architects, so that was my plan, no? I'll just follow what my family did. But I was late during the entrance test. And when I got to the exam area, they asked me, what course are you applying for? Architecture or advertising? I don't know why I said advertising. And that completely shifted my life. Just one moment where I made that mistake. But I owned up to it. I took the test. And when I got home, I was telling my parents that, I decided to take advertising. And my parents were going like, wasn't Bert, you planning to be an architect? Yeah. As if I was in control, but it's actually just a mistake. So eventually, I did take another test, and I went down that road, and I went to Ateneo, and I studied communication arts. This was not the plan, but I enjoyed it. I went for it. So sometimes, I guess that's the first supernova moment. Sometimes the world collapses around you just instantly. Maybe you're not the supernova, maybe the supernova is the world around you, maybe the supernova is somebody else who affects you. But it does change your trajectory. And when that happens, you just ride with it sometimes, because sometimes there's no point in fighting it. And maybe you can be spiritual about it, maybe you're being guided towards something. And I felt maybe I was. But after 4 years of communication arts, I still wound up graduating and thinking, what now? What do I do next? So I wound up in GMA after a few attempts at finding a job. And my job at GMA Network, I was working for GMA before they became Percival. I was a copywriter. I was making those plugs. If you know the plugs, those are the little trailers for the TV shows. And I enjoyed it. I made friends there. I enjoyed my work, and I learned to appreciate the craft of being in production, being in a creative industry. But it wasn't paying me well. So that, my way to through the job that I was doing, but I had to really figure things out as I was going. I cannot say I don't know how to do this. So I was really literally studying how to be an executive producer as I was hired to be an executive producer. And I think, I think that's not a bad thing. I think everybody has to be that, I guess, insecure to be better at what you do. Because sometimes if you're overconfident, you get blindsided and suddenly, you realize that you're in over your head. Now, at least I know I'm in over my head, so I will try harder. So they assigned me to productions in Spain. If you grew up with Playhouse Disney, I actually launched it. I'm that old. I worked on X Games. There's a junior version of X Games that we worked with ESPN. I launched that too. I went to Australia. I was based there for 2 years, and I was working with people, and they were reporting to me, and they were moving to different productions. One of them Star Wars, Phantom Menace, and some of them going to New Zealand for Lord of the Rings, and they would go to me, and I would go like, oh wow, level. But I did the job. And supernova moment number three. Just when everything was going okay, and I wasn't, I was thinking about what else do I want to do. The supernova moment was, I fell in love with somebody, and that changed everything all over again. And I'm going to admit this because it's going to happen to you. It's going to happen that sometimes it's not career, sometimes it's family, sometimes it's unfortunately a tragedy, but sometimes it's a good thing, but it will change your trajectory. So I was based abroad. I met somebody here. It was a long-distance relationship back in a time when long-distance relationships were expensive because there's no, social media. So I was flying back and forth. He was flying back and forth as well. And I decided, after 6 years of working for Disney, living the life, enjoying the traveling, I had to grow roots. I had to come back home. So I gave it all up. Sounds romantic. I gave it all up. And I came back here. So from working in Spain, in Australia, in the US, I started working in Novaliches, in this network called ABC5, which later became TV5. So I was prepared to shift everything. And not because of love or anything like that, but I thought, it's time for me to try out something new. I, at that time, was in my early 30s, and I said, if I'm going to start again, I'm going to start again now, so that I still have time to find my footing. So, started all over again, started from scratch. I went back to doing promotions. Eventually, they assigned me some TV productions. Eventually, they made decisions on what to do. The actors were asking their motivation. I had Nora looking at me like, what am I going to do? And I said, I had no idea. But it was very scary, and yet it was also very exciting. So I went into it, I dove into it, and made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I somehow was able to finish the film, somehow was able to release it. It played internationally. Fortunately, lots of pressure, I was able to give Nora an award in, in France. And that got me going into this new rabbit hole, which is film. And now, it's been 12 years of doing that. I've done 45 movies as a producer. I've directed 7 of those. And many, many things have also happened. But this is now the point, and this is why I go back to the theme of supernova. When I look back at my life, a lot of things happen either serendipitously or accidentally. Sometimes I would be forced into it. Sometimes it comes from within. And I think this is the key. Life will not be easy or straightforward. We just have to accept that, right? But know, I guess, even if you're spiritual or you just want to believe in, I guess, how the universe works, know that every step that you take and every direction that you're forced to go into or you're instinctively going into is letting you carry things that will help you in the next one, in the next stage, in the next challenge, in the next supernova moment if it comes from outside of you, or supernova moment that comes from within you, right? It's all these little things adding up that somehow will prepare you for what's happening next. So the key is to believe in yourself and believe that you are being guided in a way, and that you are picking up, even subconsciously, because we're creatures of nature, so we have survival instincts. Sometimes we don't even know what we're doing, but our bodies and our minds are telling us, you need to do this, right? Because you don't know, something is coming down the road. Sometimes it's going to be devastating. I've had experiences where I was actually on set when my mother died, and I had to deal with that as I was finishing a film, because as they say in showbiz, the show must go on. But I grieved, and yet I continued. So there were not little, but there were challenges like that. I survived a separation from my partner. We're still okay, we're still good, but I had to survive that as I was running my company, as I was producing films. During the pandemic, when everybody was really scrambling to find a job. So there are a lot of big and small challenges. But you've got it in you to overcome that. You just have to believe that you are being prepared each and every second for what's happening in the next one, right? So I guess that's my point. Supernova, I mean, it's great. You will shine bright. It's all beautiful. But there's also a flip side of it, which is sometimes it's scary. Actually, a lot of times it's scary. But believe that you'll be ready for it. And the key is to keep burning, keep the fire burning, even if it's just whatever's left in you, even if it's going to use up all of you, right? Because